Dream Theater, Distance Over Time. Check out the outtakes as while we're giggling while we start this one off. 10 tracks for 60 minutes, the 14th studio album of the American progressive metal band, released February 2019 by Inside Out Music. Produced by the guitarist John Petrucci, recorded at Yonder Barn Studio in New York, and the vocals were done at Mixlane Studios in Canada. 3 singles have been released in Untethered Angel, Fall Into the Light, and Paralysed. This is the band's first album to have lyrics from Mike Mangini, if I'm correct. This is also the band's shortest album since their 1989 debut, if you don't include the bonus track, that is. The band decided to make this a tight and focused album with a heavier sound than the previous outing, The Astonishing, and thank fuck for that.
Tight and focused.
Yeah, I've been a big Dream Theater fan for years now, like a couple of us on the panel here. It is a welcome return, but I don't know, and I've only heard it once, so I've been told it's a grower and whatever else, but I don't get why everyone's pulling themselves over this album as much as why, the good stuff's fantastically great, but there is 3 songs I thought were okay. It's what you want to hear from Dream Theater. Like, I think the longest song is 7 minutes, which is quite short for them. So it is tighter. 9?
Yeah.
Yeah. The shortest?
Nothing over 15.
Yeah, no.
It is short for them.
It is shorter songs and stuff like that, and I got it, but I found it a bit repetitive on first listen. And some of the songs, some of the riffing passages were quite the same sort of thing going on again. Production was A1. They've been smashing production out for the last 3 or 4 albums. They've just been sounding fucking fantastic. And that's where, even if, like I said earlier, if you're not enjoying an album as much as what you thought you might be, it's just sonically so good to listen to that you just keep going through it anyway. I find, and this has always been the problem for me, James's vocals lacking.
Divisive.
It's still lacking, man, after all these years,
He gets a bit thin, which is weird.
He plays it too safe.
Yeah.
He's always just hitting the correct note rather than trying to do something else. And I find their music can allow him to do more. He just doesn't do more. Look, it's good. And it's definitely what we want Dream Theater to be doing. If you are a Dream Theater fan, I think it's where you want it to be, not like the previous effort that we've spoken about many times before. But I still don't think it's anything like an Awake or a Train of Thought. But it's still good. And they're never going to do a bad album, let's face it. They're too good at
except for The Astonishing.
Yeah.
Well,
that
had a lot of filler, but the good stuff, when it did come through, like the three...
Finding that good stuff in 2.5 hours is fucking hard.
The 3 tracks on the first 21 songs, they're quite good. Anyway, my standouts were Falling Into the Light, Room 13, and S2N.
Yeah, S2N, yeah.
Look, I gave it an 8 because those are really, really good songs, but I probably would have to give it a 7 at the moment.
Okay.
I don't think it's that ball-tearing album everyone's saying it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I grew up a big Dream Theater fan, and
I love to hate this band, for the record, by the way.
I later found out I was a big Mike Portnoy fan. I've been working on that line for a while, so
I kind of get that.
Look, I have to admit, I think this album, for me, is there's 2 sides to this album. Part of it is fantastic, and there's another side to it that is a little, I don't know, grating, and it just doesn't quite fit. They have brought in a little bit more riffage than the previous last couple albums. More guitar heavy, more there's less keys, shining through on this one for Dream Theater.
That's true.
Labrie, for me, it's his tone.
He's a bit like Geddy Lee, I find. He's gonna put people off, or people accept it one way or the other.
Okay.
I like Labrie, I don't like...
I don't understand how you like one, not the other.
Yeah.
They're nowhere near each other.
Yeah, they are.
James's balls dropped.
Oh,
I was going to say Geddy's vocals are higher pitched, so that kind of fits.
Anyway,
I think the track Out of Reach for mine was reminiscent of that particular Michael Sweet album with drums.
Oh.
I thought Barstool Warrior had a guitar riff that was hilariously happy, followed by a song where LeBrie claimed someone is dying, which was again a little unconvincing. I know I'm making this sound really negative, but the highlights of this were really good. If you are a Dream Theater fan, and I mean, Dream Theater aren't a small band these days. Most people know them and know their style and know what they're about. So if you know them and even in passing like them, then definitely check this out, because there is enough on there that you will love. Because I know I made that sound really negative, but at the same time, like, if you all know Dream Theater, and if you know them and you've passed them by and gone, okay, it's not for me, then again, this won't change your mind. At Wits End was my highlight, and I gave it 8 out of 10 as well.
This is just one of those albums, just like, fuck yes, my band is back. After The Astonishing, which I was bitterly disappointed with, I mean, even I will not defend that album. It's just not good.
Thank you.
And I am so glad that they are back on track and where I want this band to be. This is an amazing album, and it's everything I was hoping for. I listened to this album all the way through with headphones, no distractions, totally dark house, and the band just sounds amazing. Ever since Mike Portnoy left the band, I always felt like there was something missing. And I know it's just the drummer, but
it's a big difference.
He's not just a fucking drummer. He's amazing.
It's a brave table to say that, actually.
Yeah. That's true. I'm going to get beaten. Boom, boom.
On 1 and 3.
on fuck, I went into it. But yeah, he did more than just, play drums in the band. He was co-producer. He wrote a lot of songs. He wrote the Hate song. He was like the most metal person in the metal band. So him leaving left a big hole. But I don't find that on this album. It's just not missing for me anymore. This is Dream Theater, but it's taken the band to a new point in their career where they have a fresh spin on everything.
Well, they got they got the perfect replacement.
Mangini's been in the band long enough to be part of the band now.
Oh yeah, that's not enough.
And when Portnoy left, they were still trying to do exactly what they were doing. But now that all this time has passed, they're a new band with Mangini as very firmly implanted in it.
It's organic now.
Yeah. They know what he can do, so they're writing for that. You still get the displays of musicianship, the harmonised runs between the guitar and the keys, the crazy time signatures, but it's really restrained compared to what they have done in the past. The whole album, including the bonus track, comes in exactly 1 hour. And you still get the long songs, but there's nothing over 10 minutes, which is probably a good idea at this day and age. And it's not due to short attention spans, it's just because there's so much buying for your attention.
They needed to after the last album.
Yeah,
well.
It was bloated, it way the hell out. But you can just click a button and you got something else. Your phone has film, your phone has
I
music.
get that, but for a band that's so technical and progressive, it's about the album.
Yeah, it's really what they need to do at this point in time. People know they can play. People need to know that they can also write good songs.
That's it. Yeah.
Petrucci dishes out some really heavy riffs and with a really ballsy guitar tone, but the solos he's kind of dialed back on the distortion and makes everything really nice and clear. And it's credit to the production too. Listening to it with headphones, just everything sounded amazing. There's an 8-string guitar on this.
Okay.
I heard about a year ago he bought an 8-string guitar, and like he did when he bought the 7-string guitar for Awake, he didn't touch it until they were in the studio ready to write. So I'm not sure exactly what song it's on because there's nothing overtly heavy, but that's due to the heaviness coming from the notes rather than the production and distortion and the effects. So he uses it subtly and he uses the entire 8 strings, not just the heavy notes. So he's probably started writing in the 6th string and then gone down to the 8th for certain parts to give it that extra heavy bit. So he uses it subtly. LeBray's vocals are great. I love his voice, I always have. He's not as much of a screamer as he used to be back in the early days. He really just belts it out. It's probably just due to age. But I love his solo material as well, so I could be biased as hell there.
Yeah.
Mangini fits the band perfectly. Anyone who says he doesn't have feel, or the Dream Theater don't have feel, have been spending too much time feeling themselves. He's fucking amazing. The song S2N, it has something that Dream Theater has never done before, and I usually find each album has something just specific to that, like the pinch harmonics he does in on Train of Thought or something, but this album is something they've never done, a rest period for like 2 full beats. It like stops and then it comes back in. They've done rests before for like a semi-quaver or a quaver or like a 30-second equivalent
Dave's
of that.
getting his full music geek on.
You paid much more attention than I did.
Yeah, but that whole 2-beat punch, it's just nothing, and it just comes back
Probably
in.
why I like
I
that
have to
track.
admit though,
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what the fuck, and then it's back in, and then it stops again. It's like, okay, cool, this is something that they haven't done before. They stopped playing.
You will.
There are moments of
Who would have
regression.
thought?
Yeah.
Probably a lesson they could have learned a long time ago.
There are moments of regression, there's moments of beauty, often within the same song. Some songs are one or the other, but overall it's a very diverse listen that covers a lot of ground, and albums always work best when they're multi-dimensional. At this point in the band's career, they've been around over 30 years. New albums tend to get compared to the back catalogue, so it's like X album meets Y album. But I really couldn't compare this to any other album. There were bits that we
chat. There was a lot of comparisons going on with our chat. Like
Yeah.
people were comparing this to
a little
albums.
bit. I know Nick was saying there was a lot of train of thought in there.
Yeah.
I would say more systematic chaos, but it's only because it's still Dream Theater.
I'm thinking more 6 degrees.
Really? I got a
In terms of
little bit.
guitar,
There's
I was
like very
hungry.
tiny parts of songs where you can compare it to like that, but it's just because it's Dream
Yeah,
Theater.
but
It's
then
their
you
band.
got a bit of
Oh, yeah.
images and words in there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I was
But
getting 6
Awake
degrees.
has that whole vibe all the way through. It's very Kevin Moore synth heavy. But this is just something completely fresh, which is exactly what they needed. And like I said, my band's back. It's the best album they've done in 12 years since Systematic Chaos. 10 out of 10. Paralyzed, Barstool, Warrior, Room 137, Wits End, and Pale Blue Dots from my standouts.
To the whole album, pretty much.
Just about.
Yeah, about half.
Now, I'm the guy that's not the Dream Theater devotee on this panel, and I think I've well and truly established that after my review of The Astonishing, which we have roundly been canned for, and thank you, bring it on.
I'll defend you on that one. Fuck.
Yeah.
It was a
It's
shit
just a
record.
bad album.
Yeah. Now, I didn't like the last album. That's been well established. This band, for me, along with you, have been something of a whipping post for me since that album came out, because I know that's a good way to trigger you off, is to talk about that band and that album. So I was curious about how this one would go, especially because you were pushing so hard for us to review this
We
one.
need a Dream Theater special. All 6 hours of it.
Dream Theater versus
That would
Rush.
be a marathon. That would be the marathon itself.
It would be. Dream Theater versus Rush. Jesus Christ.
Never see me so happy.
but if you're gonna-
I want to kill myself at one moment and be elate at the next. Be like a total Dave bipolar.
I know which
episode.
side I'm on already on that one, but anyway. Now, we all know these guys are absolutely gun musicians, gun performers, so there's no doubt in that. James LaBrie vocal will be divisive. I don't think there's any denying that. It's just like Geddy Lee or Lotus. Yes, you can have the different frequency ranges, but the tonality is similar, and
Both Canadian.
whatever it might be up there. I don't know.
It's the maple syrup.
Hey, it's a lot of buddy guy.
Not your friends.
The Canadian bacon, it's just,
But it's the...
does something to their vocal cords after a while.
Don't know what it is, but I don't mind the tone he's got on this one. The tone on his vocal on this one was better than previous releases for mine. Not as cutting in the mix. I think he's been produced better on this record in that regard. There were some nice vocal harmonies displayed in this, and his technical ability is well displayed as a singer. The writing is much, much more to the point, blissfully, than the previous record. It's still technical, it's still progressive, all those things you expect from this band, but it does feel like they have pulled themselves into a sharper focus, which is good. Greatly appreciated by myself personally. If you don't like prog, this is not a gateway record, so don't even start. This is not going to hook you. But if you do like prog, you're going to get exactly what you want out of this record. That said, there are some points where the groove and the feel was more prominent, and for me, those parts were the ones I gravitated towards personally.
It definitely flowed more.
Yeah, this
Just
one
more
had some
straight ahead.
flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't all purely technical for the sake of being technical. There was some feel employed, which was good. Lyrically, there's some deep stories going on, well written. I'm not sold on the conviction conveyed and the emotion by James LaBrini's vocal. I don't
He never
think
nails
he
it.
sells it.
No.
And that's been a problem for me with his vocal the entire time. He can sing, not about his ability to sing, but does he convince you?
He sings like a narrator.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it.
So
I agree with that.
No, on Sins from Memory. I think he nails it.
there's
He didn't on
moments,
this.
but
Yeah, but I mean,
Well,
like, there's like what, one
No.
track in.
but he's reading the words off the paper and he's technically doing the right notes. There's no feel behind it,
Yeah.
or not enough, and that's his
He's a-
major flaw. as
He's a
singer.
session musician.
Ouch.
That doesn't mean he's not a good musician.
Like,
No.
like
If they had got the dude from Symphony X in that band,
like Steve,
okay.
just like
Yeah.
Steve Gadd's a
Forget his
session
name.
musician. He's
Fuck.
fucking great.
he is a perfect fit for Dream Theater. That would have the band's already huge. I would fucking...
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
if you did that crossover, that would be fucking insane.
Oh, Jesus.
I would be hooked on that. I would be hooked on that.
Yep, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome.
If that ever happens, cool. There's a lot to take away from the lyrics, though. So even though I'm not sold on his conviction, the stories themselves are good. This is one of those ones where you can spend some time poring over the lyric sheet and really immersing yourself in it. Production is crystal clear in every little detail. Some really well done layering. The use of things coming in over the top was really well done. Like there was one particular moment where there was just this keyboard just hit where it was just a rapid progression of notes and just came and went. And that was like that layering, that use was really well done. There's some rich tones in this. It isn't clinical though, it is clean. There's a bit of warmth to this. My criticism of a lot of prog bands is that everything is clinical, including the production. This doesn't fall into that category, which is good. They softened the tones on this. They've softened where James sits in the mix as well, which makes him easier to take in as a vocalist. They've got some good reverb on this to give it a nice bit of depth and space. It's polished, but it's not overdone. There's little bits, like at the moment at Wit's End, where they almost put it into a negative with the production, the way they've done the whole reverb trick, and they've really made it like it's at the back end of a fucking train tunnel kind of thing. That was really cool. It does get a bit too crunched at times on the compression side, but it's not a bad thing. It's just something that I noticed, and the more I listened to it, the more I noticed it. But on the first listen, it's not as obvious, so it's a relatively minor gripe. Overall, this is more diverse than I was expecting. It wasn't hard to sit through this one, which is often a problem for me with heavily progressive units. I don't get enough feel in those ones, and I can appreciate all technical ability in the world, but I don't feel it serves any purpose at the end of the day, apart from just fucking wanking off with an instrument. That always pulls me out of the song. You don't get as much of that on this record. There's a lot more feel and groove and just general good songwriting employed on this record. You still get tracks, and Dave's going to hate me for this, like Pale Blue Dot. That shat me to tears.
Oh, come on.
That was progressive for the sake of progressive.
You had to have something like that on the Dream Theater.
I get that.
You had to.
But for me, listening to it, it also felt out of place on the record.
It was a great ending. It's like, I've been waiting for that the whole album.
It didn't need to be
waiting
there.
for it. Like,
they were just showing off in that one, and they've proven by now
they can.
Yeah, but they don't need to. How many albums have they shown off for?
But that's their style.
I know.
Because nobody else can do it like that.
I'm not the DVT. There's a few now.
There's a lot of great bands these days.
Yeah, it didn't serve a purpose on the record for me, that song. It's good. They can play. I get it, but whatever. But that said, it is a bit of a journey overall, and you get a little more emotion and diversity in the experience along the way than I was expecting from this record, especially in the second half of the record. I thought that, apart from that track, the second half really did change things up. It was really odd, though, to have the first three tracks as the singles. Didn't think that was the smartest move in the world. If you like prog, this is really good. If you don't, you're going to struggle. There are a few entry points, so check out the singles. If you like the singles, then check out the record. If you don't like the singles, don't even start. It won't grab you at all. Rush fans might also find a bit out of this one too, for mine.
Petrucci's favourite band, so it's always going to be an influence.
Yeah. I like this one a lot more than The Astonishing. This at least made some sense and has some genuine songwriting and album craft. Still got those pure prog hits like I've covered off that will always irk me, but that's a matter of taste, not a matter of ability or anything else. All in all, this is a good album, and I will go back to this one when the mood strikes. 8 out of 10. S2N, Untethered Angel, Room 137, At Wit's End, and Viper King. I'd put a standout track as a bonus track, but there you go. Check it out for yourselves. I'm sure a lot of you have by now, so let us know what you think as well. That's an online review because that went fucking way too long, but that'll get conversation going.
Yeah, easily. DT fans are very passionate.
Good. How about pissing them off?
I can.
I can turn it off, but Marco Miniman.
I know the name, but what?
When you get a chance, YouTube him playing Dad's Maternity.
Okay.
You seen that beatbox one?
No.
The guy beatboxes the entire 8 minutes of it, and while he's doing it, he holds up the fucking time signatures on a card.
What?
It's really good. It's beatboxing. It's
I never thought I'd hear you say the beatboxing is really good.
beatbox the Dream Theater song, and it was
But on top of that, the Dream, that is incredible.
It was progressive beatbox. Beatbox, that's why.
It was the Bernie Sanders of beatboxing.
Fucking white guy Steve Urkel.
Wears his pants low.
Got his suspenders. Did I do that?
I can't
Did
get up.
I do that?